we can get caught up in fixing ourselves. And I'm aware that I have a tendency to do that at times, like getting caught up in the fixing. And sometimes those patterns are getting in the way of connecting with consciousness. So when I'm unable to be in a state of love with everyone, one particular person, and really having trouble letting something go, that's when I'll take a deeper look. When it's like when I'm starting to get in my own way of that connection, of feeling the joy in life. And if we can heal a few key things, the other stuff just all of a sudden doesn't become that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah. It's almost like you're doing it in tandem. I think if you say, this is a huge problem in my life, then you're bringing that concept with you. Mm-hmm. But maybe just saying, this, I'm noticing this reoccurring. I'm going to take a look, but I'm going to bring in this other spirit with me while I do it, so I don't have to do it by myself.
Yes, I love that. Don't have to do it yourself. Yeah. In fact, some of the worries that come into my mind for whatever reason, I reminded myself before coming into our time together, like, you don't have to figure it out. You just like if I was, say, working with a client or something, I've got one ear on you, Andrew, and the other ear on spirit, that if I'm not sure where to go or what to say, I can just pause and listen and wait for the answer.
Welcome to another edition of Chasing the Timeless. And today I have a very good friend of mine, Denise Maple. And I just enjoy talking to her whenever I have a chance to be with her. I always come up with some amazing, fun stuff.
Thank you. Likewise.
So I've known you for a while, but I think the time we spent, most of our time together, was probably during the mindfulness book club that you did.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
I loved it for a lot of reasons. One, I just loved meeting everyone and getting to know you better and some others. You interviewed Shayla Kennedy a few times ago, and she's become a really good friend, and that's a blessing. I loved partnering with Lori Friesen. We're good friends, and that was really nice to do together. So community was a big piece of it. The other piece was it kept me focused on what mattered, you know? Mm-hmm. It kept me... I'm going to have to tell a story to explain this. So when I was going through spiritual practitioner training, I was through the Centers for Spiritual Living. I was reading spiritual texts. We were learning how to lead meditations and pray with people and all of these different things. And so my mind was always on a concept of there's a greater power outside of myself. Life is much better when we surrender and just kind of turn things over, right? And that's what I felt like the Mindfulness Book Club did for me, was to remind me not to sweat the little details. Things work out. And I do miss being in that conversation. That being said, I'm in another book club, and we've been focusing on some similar ideas. So that was a blessing for me.
There's the challenge of the not having that community or some kind of reminder to say, stick with this direction. There's so much distraction in our life to pull us out of that.
Yeah. There is. I mean, that's life, and some of it is our own mind, our ego mind, or just the busy mind. A lot of it is the social media, the news, the getting caught up in what's happening out there. And that can pull us out of it, among other things, I'm sure. Just life, you know.
What do you do daily or weekly or whenever? Like, what kind of stuff helps you if you don't have I've got this at 6:00 on Tuesday or whatnot?
Yeah. I do have daily practices. I have meditation and prayer practices in the morning. I usually read something. You know, for a while it was A Course in Miracles. Now it's my book club book, which is called Transurfing. It's a manifestation book, but it brings in a lot of the mindfulness things that we talked about. Time in nature is really important to me. I live near Trip Lake, and I see something amazing every day. And that reminds me of something outside of myself. In fact, I saw a sandhill crane family this morning, and I don't know if they're not called ducklings, but the little guys were just like, I just wanted to grab them and hold them and hug them. They were so cute. And that was like something that I could really like hold on to today, of something that is just like a miracle in life. And then I usually meditate and have a gratitude practice in the evening. And that helps me, kind of brings me back, you know, like, oh, wait, I don't need to worry about that. Let me see if I can just surrender this and not worry about this right now.
Yeah, I found that even doing this, for me, doing this podcast gives me an opportunity to talk to people regularly and think about people I want to talk to. But there's still a lot of work involved, and I can find myself going the whole day, and I don't have those practices that it's like, I got to do this every day. Mm-hmm. And it could be a couple of days, and I realize, like, where am I? I don't even know where my compass is. What direction am I pointing? And so I think for a while I was doing morning gratitude, but I never wrote it down. It was just like, wake up in the morning and that's what enters my head. But then the next day I wake up and I realize I need to do something right away, and it doesn't sit there.
Yeah. I do have days like that as well. I can really appreciate that. Those rare days where it's like, oh, I got to get going. I don't have time for my leisurely morning where I can just kind of sit and connect with my higher power, with myself. And I do often feel a little off on those days.
Yeah, so tell me about, like, what, you say your higher power. I don't know why, but something that popped in my head was, you've got a kid that you got to take with you during the day. Like, if you had a toddler, you wouldn't forget to bring him around. Although there are stories of people totally forgetting that too. What kind of relationship or what role does it have in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Are there any similarities between seeing it as a person or something completely different? And
that's a great question. I'm going to have to think about that. I think there is still a part of me that views my higher self, my higher power, as something separate from me. Mm-hmm. I think I'll call it the programming that I received throughout my life. It's like God is up there, But I also have learned to dial that back enough that I can literally feel my higher power within. And you know what book really helped me from our book club with that?
What's that one?
The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Uh-huh. And you know how you those books, I always would take one or two big things from it that would stay with me. And that one was, he's like, if you're standing at the post office and you don't have anything to do, instead of worrying about the time, he said, just stop and feel that life force energy that's within you. And it is an energy. It's like if I kind of tune into it right now, there's like a pulsing, and I don't know if it's like the beat of my heart, my breath, or just the energy within me. That's the connection to spirit. And so that's one thing that helps bring God outside of me back in.
Yeah. For me, the things that kind of remind me is when I get excited or anxious or mad or frustrated with something, I can feel that in my body. And I think in the past, that was such a normal way of being. It was just like a big callus, and I didn't notice it. But now it's like, well, what's that? And then it's like, oh. And I try to look at it as like my physiology is a way for that spirit to communicate to me, to tell me and remind me that I think you're forgetting something here. And that's just an opportunity to pause. And the worse I'm concerned about something where I've put in a lot of energy, and then all of a sudden to create something nice, and then all of a sudden something I did or somebody else did wrecks it, and I'm just like, fuck. That's kind of the stronger message, and it's like, wow, thanks for like alerting me, because nothing really matters that much.
I'm picturing myself having a similar experience and being like, oh, that's interesting. You know, it's like sometimes it surprises me if I have that reaction. And I think I used to have those reactions all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I'm doing with this podcast is trying to help people that are kind of on the verge. They know something needs to shift in their life. They don't necessarily know how or what or where, but just give them some pieces and not. So I have a few people on the show that we'll talk about. Muji Char last week, really followed him. And he only talks about, like, I don't want to hear about your life. Like, if you're here and you made this trip to see me and be in my presence, let's finish this off. Let's get to that point where you're really in touch with your God spirit. And I kind of see this podcast more as for the people that are just starting to look around for something different in life. And if you find yourself always getting frustrated and anxious with people, yes, it's them, but it's also equally you. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe just the first notice, and not saying like to people like you're unjustified in being upset and people are maybe out to get you, but that's the first signpost of saying, okay, let me look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. One thing I've been really focused on lately is noticing my patterns that put me back in those situations, you know?
Okay.
I had an experience. I got a letter from the condo association yesterday. My immediate thought was, what am I in trouble for? Isn't that an interesting thought?
Yes.
And I'm a renter, so like, why am I getting this letter? I'm like, has there been a complaint? And that's where my mind went. And what I'm starting to do is notice these patterns, look where they kind of look for where they came from, but it almost doesn't matter other than to kind of like, we have muscle memory in our body from different experiences in our life that we can release in different ways. But looking for the patterns so I can start making some more conscious choices to live differently. Like, why did my mind catastrophize this letter that could have been anything, and it could have been a check, like, for all I know, for something unexpected. So that's one thing for me that I've really been focused on lately. And I don't want to over focus on it because I want to live my life too. Mm-hmm. But you were talking about the body consciousness, and, there is a tensing. Like, I think I lived for years with my shoulders up like this, I
like that word, body consciousness. I haven't used that, but I think I want to start using that.
Take it. I didn't make it up.
There's two ideas I want to put out here, and I want to know whether they're exclusive or the same. Is we have all these things from our past that create different pathways in our brain that create a tendency to look at something a certain way and a way to see the world. And you can be in therapy for your entire life trying to solve all your life's problems, and you'll never even scratch the surface because there's so many different areas. The other side is focus on just your connection to the consciousness, and build that relationship, and everything slowly starts to fade away.
Yeah.
So those are two different concepts.
Yeah.
But what is the role of, there are some instincts that are really strong. Like, what is the role of being able to, like, notice where those are coming from?
Yeah.
And how do you know, is it worth trying to figure out or just dropping?
You bring up a really good point. I'm going to put a pin in that, because you may have to remind me what the question is, but we can get caught up in fixing ourselves. And I'm aware that I have a tendency to do that at times, like getting caught up in the fixing. And sometimes those patterns are getting in the way of connecting with consciousness. So could you ask your question again?
So how much do we want to focus on noticing where our patterns are coming from and the root cause, versus just, I don't want to say burying them. Some people may say it's burying them, but just ignoring them and just focusing on what's beautiful at hand. And how do you know when to, well, I need work on this. I need to talk about this. I need to think about the past.
Yeah.
I need to understand why this letter from the from the homeowners association is causing this reaction in me. And that usually goes into parents and childhood and lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
Like, at one point I thought, well, I just need to just stay right here in this awareness when I find it. But there can be some bigger problems. It's like, okay, I don't want to address every single thing that makes me upset, but maybe there's a couple things that I don't even realize are holding me back. And a couple of them I can maybe not fix, but just be aware of. Like, when do you need to go into your past, and when do you need to just try to stay here in the present?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, this is just my perspective. Yeah. There are many perspectives. I think when it's getting in the way of connecting with just consciousness and being in that place of love. So when I'm unable to be in a state of love with everyone, one particular person, and really having trouble letting something go, that's when I'll take a deeper look. When it's like when I'm starting to get in my own way of that connection, of feeling the joy in life. And if we can heal a few key things, the other stuff just all of a sudden doesn't become that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah. It's almost like you're doing it in tandem. And I think, and I'm just thinking about this as we're speaking at that, you can look back and say, this thing is hitting me a lot. I think if you say, this is a huge problem in my life, then you're bringing that concept with you. But maybe just saying, this, I'm noticing this reoccurring. I'm going to take a look, but I'm going to bring in this other spirit with me while I do it, so I don't have to do it by myself.
Yes, I love that. You don't have to do it yourself. Yeah. In fact, because of some of the, the worries that come into my mind for whatever reason, I reminded myself before coming into our time together, like, you don't have to figure it out. You just like if I was, say, working with a client or something, I've got one ear on you, Andrew, and the other ear on Spirit, that if I'm not sure where to go or what to say, I can just pause and listen and wait for the answer.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks.
When I was trying to decide how to do this podcast, it's important for me to not come in with a set of questions.
Yeah.
And I've heard from different people saying, well, you have to have your backup questions in case you run out of stuff, of things to say. And it's okay. I feel like if that one ear is what's the core of who you are, then it really doesn't matter. Maybe sometimes just sitting here with nothing to say is really okay.
It's okay. Yeah. And we're just two people having a conversation, so we can always treat it as how are you? There's always more to learn just from being in conversation. But yeah. I think I like what you brought up about it's okay to not have anything to say. Sometimes some of my best moments are in silence with someone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My dad was recently put into hospice care and memory care, and he was at home getting treatment, where there'd be somebody coming every day to spend a lot of time and be focused on entertaining him. And the place where he's at now, even though he's getting better care, there's moments of the day where he's just with all the other 90-year-olds sitting in their lounger watching nature videos. And some people have, well, where's their mental stimulation? And even I like to be without mental stimulation during the day and just sitting and being with myself and that energy, and giving that energy a chance to say hello and not have any judgments about. That's the other thing is, oftentimes in my life, especially when I was first getting connected to this greater energy that moves us, sometimes it needed to really hit me with a big cymbal crash to get my attention. And it could be at a concert, it could be on drugs, it could be some just amazing mountain. And it's like, oh, wow, I want to replicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for that replication.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to learn to not ask for certain experiences, because there's a plethora of ways it can talk to us.
Yeah. I was, and I will go back to it again, but I was on a plant medicine journey for a few years. And I think there was a part of me that was chasing a certain feeling or a certain experience. And I took a break, I think, because that just wasn't the right path for me at that time anymore. So I really appreciate that you said that, because those times don't get created with our mind. They just happen, right?
Yeah.
They're just allowed when we're in a state of peace or a state of flow or a state of joy, or just kind of, getting into the music at a concert. It just happens.
Yeah. One of the things that first broke me out of the mold was doing mushrooms at a Grateful Dead concert. And it was the first time it's like, oh, there's a different way of, there's something different. Like, I had no idea this other world was there. And it can become so important for people to think like, this is the answer. You got to keep doing this but that's just one play, and it has a role for certain things. But there's this energy with us that we can always tap into that. And one thing, I was at a Grateful Dead cover band a couple years ago, and same thing. A friend said, "Hey, I want to do some mushrooms for this." And it's like, okay, it's been a while, but let's do that. And it's a very beautiful, sweet lullaby sound. And I've had experiences in the past where I had a brother that died when I was young, who's older than me, where with music or a concert or something, I would feel that energy with me. And I thought to myself, oh, this is the same type of experience. What are you gonna, I'm ready to dance or be however I want to be. Like, I'm waiting for this message. And it started kind of like making me a little uncomfortable a little bit, until I realized, like, I'm asking for the spirit to be a certain thing for me that I wanted.
Yeah.
And when I let go of my expectations, like the same process of like, if it doesn't happen, it's really okay. At that same moment, then I just felt this love come in and say, yeah, that's the message. It was the letting go of the expectation, and I'm always here. Yeah. And you're getting in your own way.
It's like that grasping, like we're grasping for a certain outcome or something. And it's that surrender and that let go and allowing. I love that. I actually have an experience coming up that'll be in a psychedelic state, kind of like the first time I'm going back to it in a year or two. And I needed to hear that at this moment, because I don't want to have any expectations. I just want to allow and see what unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
There was, and I've mentioned this in a previous podcast, where I went to India, into this ashram of a revered person, and Ramana Maharshi, and people were sitting there meditating, and I was same thing. I don't know when I'm going to stop doing this. Maybe I'll never do it. But I was looking for, oh, I'm in this auspicious place. Meditating here has got to be like some special opportunity. And I was looking for some kind of message or revelation I could take with me and help me grow. And nothing came. And then I just felt like, just sit. Yeah. There's no messages. It's just sit with it's just like the energy. We talked earlier about, is there any personality to it? And I think it's almost impossible not to view a relationship with this greater divine spirit and not have it also be part of a human. There's a human element because that's how we see the world. So the relationship, I don't really know any other way to explain to it, but I know it could be anthropomorphizing the spirit to put a human element onto it. But I think as we're experiencing the world as a human, that's just kind of, it has to be that way. So I felt this message, this communication, and it was just sit. And I just felt just this like weight coming off, like a backpack coming off, like, take a backpack full of rocks that I've been carrying around, and this stillness and this peace. There's no, oh, here's this image of this and this message, and it's just, and it was, okay. I thought that was a real treat.
That's amazing, because I think that's one of the hardest things for at least humans in our culture to do, is just to be. I struggle with it. I practice it, but I struggle with it often.
Yeah. Even go by the school and the marquees will say something like, be the best of this, whatever, and achieve this. And we're constantly being bombarded with achievement as being the goal in life.
Yeah. That's been an unwinding. I've been purposely going, well, I won't say purposely, going through the last couple of years, and now it's more intentional. But sometimes life will give us an experience to show us that lesson or another one. And that's the lesson I've been learning the last couple of years. Was it 2 years ago, I think, concussion. And then I think the next year, unbeknownst to me, I had some autoimmune issues resurface. And again, this might be my human mind trying to make meaning of it, but I realized that achieving part of me had become too strong and had taken over, and it wasn't healthy for me anymore.
Yeah. And it's not like you can't achieve connected. It's just not your purpose or goal.
Yeah.
And you can actually sometimes achieve lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And you still have a job, and you do work this way and interact with people every day. But it's not your driving force. It's not the...
I love that. It's reminding me of another Eckhart Tolle book, A New Earth, where he says your mission in life, what your purpose of what you're meant to do here on this world is your secondary purpose. Your primary purpose is whatever you're doing right now, in this moment.
Yeah.
And so be there.
And what is being there? What is being?
I think what it means to me, and it usually, For me, it usually means my mind is going somewhere else, either worrying about the future, the past, worrying about how I'm showing up instead of really being present in the moment.
And so is that just like being mindful, noticing things around you?
That's a good question. That can be part of it. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I mean, it could also just be staring at a wall and letting your mind rest as long as it can. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've heard that there's this curse of the seeker of, yeah, well, you know, what is enlightenment? What is this? And there's this image, and I feel like in a way, every minute of our life is part of the great divine spirit. And we're learning things just because we fall away from our mindfulness practice for a bit doesn't mean we've ever left our core true self. It's just, you know, our mind got distracted from it a little bit, learning something, maybe something really important is happening by being so estranged from the divine spirit that the process of moving back was always meant to be. And I really like to think that we're always exactly where we're supposed to be. And it's can be a meaningless concept in some ways, especially when you think, well, why would I choose to do this? It's like, who knows? You did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that could take us on a whole nother topic of, you know, do we choose certain things in our life before we come here?
Let's go there.
Certain lessons.
Why not? Sure, you brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say any way is the right way, because like, how do I know? You know, I've studied a fair amount of traditions, but I don't know. But what makes sense to me right now is I think I did choose this life in a certain respect. And then also we're choosing in every moment, right? Our free will is choosing, but
or it feels like it.
Well,
Possibly.
Right. It feels like it, but there is a theory that we get our people together and, you know, like the bad relationship I had a few years ago with someone, we decided, like, if you haven't learned this lesson by now, we're going to find each other so we both can learn the lessons we need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that maybe was like self-love and learning boundaries and something around that aspect. I don't know if that's really true, but it's a perspective that makes sense to me, that while we have free will and our life could be anything, there may be some guideposts in there, or choosing your parents, who your parents are, and they choose you. And of course, then we get here and we've forgotten, because we're here, our soul's here to learn something.
Yeah.
So that's the theory I'm working with right now that makes sense to me. But I also I think it's beyond human understanding too.
Right. And that's kind of where the different levels come in. Like human understanding, we understand free will. I believe there's something beyond human understanding where I can't do it any other way, because there's certain moments where life lays out in front of you everything in your past, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at all the complexity that was required to create this moment, you know, forever. Even the concept of time and the universe and all these people. It's like, what an amazing gift to have more complexity in interactions and people and technology and everything with me, my grandparents, going back, the whole world, for this moment to be just the way it is. And it's just perfect right at this moment. And you think beyond human comprehension.
Way beyond.
Right, way beyond. And that's where I feel like, well, there wasn't really any self will there, free determination. But I think part of our lessons is tied with this belief that's so strong that it's almost impossible to pull yourself away from feeling like I have a choice right now to pick up this glass or not. Mm-hmm. But even if I didn't have that choice and I did it and I thought I did, it's still the same outcome.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and now it's starting to kind of like my brain is starting to go, oh, there's so many possibilities, right? Like, I'm not even sure I can completely comprehend that concept either, which then my mind went to the idea of an oversoul.
Okay.
So we talk about our higher self, and there's also the theory that everything's happening at once, and our soul has had past lives, future lives, but it's time again beyond human understanding, and that we have an oversoul that is nudging us if we're getting too far off track, our mission of this life. I don't know if that's true. Is that God? Is that even like real? But these are the things I think about.
Yeah. Well, I believe it'd be in Hinduism, I'm not sure exactly, but the Satguru, there's your guru, which is somebody that teaches you. Then the Satguru is this teacher that's always in you. And when you get an impulse to pick up a book or to do something, that could be your Satguru trying to, your soul, some destiny, like, come on, reach for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like one really important message I want people to hear is they can be in a really rough spot for a long time. And even like in your teens or your 20s, people say, well, that's the time of your life. And there's lots of people that is not the time of the life. And it's like, it's wasted. Like, why did it take me so long to like do this other stuff? It's not wasted at all. Agreed. It's like, that's your soul's point in this life, was to have that. Some people, maybe if you talk about other lives, maybe they needed something simpler to get through. Mm-hmm. Maybe people say, well, God did this to me because he knew I could handle it. I don't know how much truth is in that, but no matter what our problems are that we're facing, that's just part of life. That's just the way it all came together, and that's what we learned from, and that's the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah. I really appreciate that you said that, because I've said this myself to my own coaches, but I've had clients say to me, like, why is this taking me so long to figure this out? Or why is this taking me so long? Or why has it taken me so long to understand this lesson? And we, meaning myself, my clients at times, tend to beat ourselves up for like, why didn't I see that before? But the truth is, we don't see it till we see it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are in this limited human experience. And as I say that, I think we're way less limited than we think we are. I actually think we're unlimited, but the messaging that we've got has told us we're limited.
Talk about limited in what?
Of what we're able to do, achieve, experience, be, fear holding us back, false beliefs holding us back. You have to work hard to make money, and so it is, you're struggling to make ends meet. So if we really truly realized, and I'm speaking to myself too, because there's still parts of me that don't fully believe this, but if we really truly believed that anything was possible, that we could do anything, that the power of the universe is at hand, we could do anything.
Right. As long as it's not the thing that you're, say, I want that to be the outcome.
Agree. That grasping, needing it to
Right.
look a certain way.
If you're 9 years old and in the last few breaths of your life, you come away with a deep understanding of who you are, then that's not a wasted life.
No.
It's worth it. It's
Yeah.
exactly where you're supposed to be. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk about long lives, short lives. We really don't know why often, what happens in a life, whether it matters or not. Like, who's to say?
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I think a lot about is when I hear people talk about God, especially, my background is growing up as Christian, and this concept of God is all-knowing, all-powerful. But then throughout the message, there's all these caveats like, well, no, you can't do that. God can't do that. And, why is God is there? God can't be you. God, bad things happen in life, and God, he's very disappointed, like he didn't see it coming and realized that he could have avoided that from the very beginning by tweaking something just a little bit different. It's just if God really is that expansive, and I believe that's kind of the definition we have to go with, then the Big Bang, the creation, the rules of science, our past, our history, our concepts of time and here and there and me, even just the concept of me versus you, is like, why does that exist? I can also sit back and think, this is all just one consciousness. I mean, I've had both those thoughts, and so they're both capable of existing. Mm-hmm. And if they're both capable of existing, then everything is just one thought, and these moments of believing that I'm separate. So I really believe anything is possible. Anything is possible. And saying otherwise is limiting on yourself, limiting on God. And a lot of people are afraid to be bigger, to be more helpful, to be the leader, to be the person that stands up and comes into a situation, and they just see themselves as small because they don't think that they're worthy of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is from Marianne Williamson, and it's something about, letting your light shine. And she said we often get in this idea of like, well, who am I to do that? Who am I to shine brightly? Who am I to be joyful and happy when there's this and that going on in the world? And her response is, who are you not to be as a child of God? Who are you not to be to shine your light in the strongest way possible? Because this has been given to you. But again, we've got all of the programming and the false beliefs and, don't get too big for your britches,
Right.
sayings like that, or even being told by a doctor, like, you have 6 months to live. It's like, well, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
I mean, people have overcome that before, but if you let it get in your head, it could happen, it's more likely to happen that way.
And I think in all of this, when we talk about how we, as people, go through life, the way that you would be able to shine and not have your ego be driving it is to bring God with you and like do it for God. And it wasn't until I read the Bhagavad Gita and had that book club where they started talking about the service, and there's a lot of service to your other people, but really you need to see those people as God, and you're doing a service to God and doing a service. And so I think there's a lot of, you can become really bigger than your britches, but if it's like, oh, look at me, well, look what I'm accomplishing, it's going to hold you back,
knock you off the pedestal, maybe
create different stresses in your life.
You're trying to keep that position. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could come in. So true.
And if you're doing stuff because of your love for God, then someday you may be doing great things, and the next day it's like, you know what, no, I'm just going to sit and watch TV all day.
And that's okay.
And that's okay too.
Such an unwinding for me. I don't know if it was my years in corporate America, but I still get nervous sometimes when I'm not doing something. And I have to remind myself, no, this is actually okay.
Yeah.
I love what you said about bringing God with you. I had this picture of like putting like a Jesus or a Buddha bobblehead, figurine on my dashboard in my car, to just like remind myself that, I can bring God with me.
There's lots of bobblehead avatars in India on taxi drivers.
Really?
Yeah. Every car has stuff hanging.
Like different gods and goddesses, like Krishna and...
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Oh, cool. Well, someday, hopefully I'll make it there.
I'm so glad we talked together.
Me too. This is super fun.
Isn't it? Why is it so fun?
Well, I think because I feel like I could talk to you about anything and you're not going to be like judgmental about it, or so this is just a piece of why it's fun. I mean, I think you're just fun to talk to and interesting, but I think because of your openness and really just being open to learning and seeking and hearing opinions, like it just makes it, I think it helped me open up and just be myself.
Yeah, it's fun for me too. And I have no idea what each conversation is going to be like, and each one is very different. But just, I think I invite people that are willing to, okay, be vulnerable. Let's go and reach these deep corners of our thoughts that it's not always easy to talk to. And it's really fortunate to have, oh my gosh, it's really fortunate to have people in your life that you can talk to about these deepest, most personal connections to. And I think, find those people and cherish them. And yeah, I
agree. And you know what just I thought of when you said that is not only the connection that we have, I love your friendship with Don. I don't know what it is. I think you guys are so different, but also just are open and kind and curious. And I love you both so much. So when I see you two together and I saw you were interviewing him, I just made my heart smile.
All right. And if you're watching this on Spotify, you will not be able to see episode 1 on Spotify. I'm still working on that, but anyplace else. So
I
anyway,
watched it on YouTube. That's where I saw that one.
yeah. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been my pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode and you know somebody that might be inspired by it, share it with them. To learn more about the show, go to chasingthetimeless.com.